What's up guys, LH Low Tech, and this is a very quick review of the Huawei AM10 Bluetooth speaker. This is a $99 Bluetooth speaker that Huawei features on their Get Huawei site. It's included in a lot of their bundles that they try to give away. And overall, it's a pretty good little speaker. It does come with a standard array of buttons here at the top, so you can go through the songs as well as change the volume and answer calls. There are connections here on the very end so that you actually can plug in an aux device as well as get music off of a micro SD card slot. And this is the charging cable with the micro USB. On the opposite side here, we have the power button. We have a battery indicator button so you actually can check the battery. And then we have the mode button here that actually lets you switch between aux mode and using it as a Bluetooth speaker. So turning it around, the device itself is white. There are different colors. There wasn't a black model when we were trying to do this review, but this is the white model. And the white model itself is not necessarily white. It's more of a cream. So that was kind of a disappointment for us. But overall, it's still a pretty nice looking speaker. Obviously, the most important thing about a Bluetooth speaker is the way it sounds. So let's connect it, and we can also hear the voices it's going to make.
Power on. Reaching for powering.
Going just off that, there are two different voices in the voice commands it gives you. One has a pretty easy to understand accent, and like that one, and one has a very hard to understand accent. Not sure why there's two different people, but the other voice, the one that's really hard to understand, sounds like a lot of the cheap Chinese speakers you can get. Not necessarily the most classy move by Huawei using that, since I'm sure they could have afforded almost anybody who could say it better than her, but it is what it is. Not necessarily something to show your friends and brag about, but hey, you have a Chinese lady saying ready for pairing. Overall, for sound quality though, it is pretty good. Maybe not up there with what you would get in a Bose device or even Jambox, but it's still pretty good. So it is able to get all of the low notes and hit a pretty good low frequency, and it can get pretty loud. But you can hear the sound quality there. It's actually pretty good. It does have a little bit of distortion at the very high end, but overall it sounds really well. However, when you get all the way to the highest volume, no matter what, as soon as you hit the very high volume, it will break the music, give you a beep, break the music again, then play. So I can hear it again. Which is pretty unnecessary, but I guess, again, this is a pretty cheap speaker. The buttons also are very hard to distinguish unless you know what order they're in, and even then, you might have to actually look and see what they are before you press them. You can't identify them really by feel. There is no ridges. There are no grooves you can feel out what the buttons are. They all feel pretty flat to me. So it's not the easiest thing to adjust when you can't actually see the buttons. That being said, there wasn't really any problems using the device. It said the micro SD card works as expected. Not many people probably actually use it for that, but it works as expected. And the battery life is pretty good, and we got several hours out of it when having to worry about the charge. But at the same time, though, for $99, there are a lot of good Bluetooth speakers out there. This Bluetooth speaker probably should have cost somewhere between $50, $60, especially since it sounds very similar to one of the Bluetooth speakers we got here for about $30. So it is a pretty good speaker. It's a great addition if you got it included in your bundle. Maybe not necessarily the white one, just because it doesn't necessarily match. White does not match with cream. But overall, for free, if you got it in a bundle, or if you got it for a really good price, it sounds really good. And we had no problems with the connection being unstable. But just a couple things that Huawei really could have fixed. Could have fixed having better buttons up here. Could have fixed the annoying pause when it beeps at the very top. And the button layout is kind of weird, having to press a button to see what the battery is. I mean, maybe that is just something that most people won't worry about, but the design is not necessarily special, especially since both sides look exactly the same, but the sound only comes out of one. So it's very easy to be like, oh yes, the sound's gonna come out of here, but nothing ever comes out. But overall, it's a nice little speaker. If you have it with you, it can definitely give you a lot of sound in the pinch and pairs very, very well with the P8 Lite if you got that. So this has been LOH at Low Tech. This is the Huawei AM10 Bluetooth speaker. Subscribe.